of a cover-up as they demand the White House hand over documents about dealings with Ukraine. Hello and welcome to BBC World News. Much of Hong Kong is shut down after violent demonstrations led to the suspension of the city's public transport network. Many shopping centres, banks and businesses have been unable to open. Thousands of people have taken to the streets to protest against a newly imposed ban on wearing face masks. The protesters use the masks to avoid identification. Hong Kong's leader, Carrie Lam, is warning that she can no longer tolerate what she called rioters destroying the territory.
The extreme actions of rioters created a very dark night for Hong Kong and made Hong Kong society semi-paralysed. Everyone is very worried and concerned, or even scared. The government will suppress violence with the greatest determination. I appeal to everyone to support the government in suppressing violence in accordance to the law, condemn violence together and cut ties with rioters with a firm will.
Well, let's go straight to Hong Kong. Robin Brandt is there for us. Robin, I see from your Twitter feed you're saying the shutdown continues. Public transport's not going to open today, is it?
No, it's not. We've had confirmation in the last half an hour or so that for certainly a big slice of yesterday and now for all of today, Hong Kong's metro system, that's its light rail, that's its underground trains, will not be running. The only service you can get is from the centre of the city out to the airport. So that decision yesterday by the authorities to essentially shut down a key part, in fact the key part of the transport infrastructure here, will continue today. And you just heard from Carrie Lam, Hong Kong's most senior politician. This is what she's trying to bring to an end. This is Chater Street. We're in the middle of Hong Kong. It's premium shopping district. And there aren't many shoppers here. There's no traffic because we've had a protest here in the last half an hour or so. About 2,000 people marched to this point. It was peaceful, but there was disruption. And this has all taken place in the context of a significant escalation by the authorities yesterday, bringing in those emergency powers to stop people wearing masks over their face. And despite that, look what you've got to your right, characteristically youthful group of protesters here. They're covering their faces. Others are covering their face over there. I was standing here about half an hour ago and there are a couple of thousand, and I think it's fair to say, 25, 30, 40% were covering their faces as well. So that tells you what some of these protesters think about the authorities' decision to try to force them to stop covering their faces. That act is now technically illegal.
And Robin, briefly, we heard, as you said, from Carrie Lam a short while ago, really an uncompromising statement this time.
Yeah, I mean, what you've got is no sign of de-escalation, really. You had two significant events yesterday: the ban on face masks by the government, the decision to shut down the MTR metro network. That may have actually been quite successful in limiting some protests we're going to see today. We have had this one, relatively small in number, peaceful as well, but disruptive. Maybe there may be more confrontation tonight, but frankly, we'll just have to wait and see.
OK, Robin Brandt in Hong Kong with the latest. Thank you. Now, Iran has released an Australian couple who were held there for several months. Australia's Foreign Minister Marise Payne said Tehran has also dropped charges against Jolie King and Mark Firkin. The couple were arrested for reportedly flying a drone without a permit. It appears their release is a diplomatic swap. An Iranian student detained in Australia last year has been released and now has arrived in Tehran. Let's move to the United States, where the White House has been ordered to hand over documents relating to the impeachment investigation of President Trump. Senior Democrats have sent a letter to President Trump's chief of staff demanding evidence related to allegations Mr. Trump pressured Ukraine for political favours. Our Washington correspondent Chris Buckler reports.
What one president asked another is at the heart of the Democrats' impeachment inquiries. And they are determined to find out how far Donald Trump was prepared to go to push the Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky demanding documents that they hope will also reveal what was being discussed inside the White House. In an open letter, they said multiple requests had been ignored, and they accused President Trump of choosing a path of defiance, obstruction and cover-up. Donald Trump did ask the Ukrainian president to launch an inquiry into the Bidens, but he claims that was his right.
This is about corruption. And if you look and you read our Constitution and many other things, I have an obligation to look at corruption. I have an actual obligation and a duty.
And amid all the talk of impeachment, Mr. Trump continues to make unfounded allegations about Mr. Biden, who hopes to challenge him in next year's presidential election.
You're pointing out when he's flat lying, where there is no evidence, none, not a scintilla, not one little tiny piece. The American people know me and they know him. They know, even the people who support him know this man lacks character. Even the people who support him know he lies constantly.
Democrats believe the president used the issue of aid to put pressure on the Ukrainian government. And that's been given more weight by this newly revealed text by Bill Taylor, the most senior diplomat in Ukraine. In it, he writes,
"As I said on the phone, I think it's crazy to withhold security assistance for help with the political campaign."
Donald Trump insists that there was no quid pro quo. But Democrats say they need to see all of the White House documents to get a clear picture of the president's actions. Chris Buckler, BBC News, Washington.
Plenty more on that story on our website. Now, Iraqi officials say at least 60 people have died during 4 days of anti-government protests. Nearly 200 people have been injured. And Iraq's most senior Shia cleric, Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani, has urged the government to respond to demands for reform. Gareth Barlow reports.
Funerals for some of those killed. Shia regions is the worst in recent years. For days, crowds have defied the authorities and curfews to challenge corruption and unemployment.
For me, I'm only living with the help of God. No housing, no salaries, and I'm a graduate with 5 languages. This is a country of nepotism. The poor have no link to the parties. Who speaks on behalf of all those people?
As the violence attracts international
Tomorrow, Parliament will meet and these committees will start work. We won't wait long to approve these reforms, which will come from the Council of the Government and from the parliamentary committees.
We'll remove the government from office, this man said, even with our last breath. But with such determination, with such a dire economy, can the government make the required reforms? Gareth Barlow, BBC News.
Buckingham Palace says Prince Harry has begun legal action against the owners of the Sun and Daily Mirror newspapers in relation to alleged phone hacking. It's not yet clear when the Prince's allegations date from, but in a phone hacking criminal trial in 2011, he, along with Prince William, was named as a victim. His move follows the announcement earlier this week that his wife Meghan was taking a separate legal action against the Mail on Sunday. Coming up next, it's Sound Odyssey. Stay with BBC World News.